Okay, it's part 5 of the IPR Remote Oil Cooler, EGR delete, and coolant filter install. Got my PowerMax turbo in today, and a little curious because it has the same amount of shaft play as my previous turbo did, so maybe I didn't need one after all, but oh well, I got one. Too late now. So anyways, we're going to install this right now, so I'm going to get everything ready to go. And we will install this in the truck, start plumbing all the lines, the rest of the lines for the coolant, and then we'll be installing the rest of the turbo lines. Got to put the alternator back in, fan shroud, and the air filter, and exhaust. Yeah, that'll be a bummer. Got to get that in first actually, so I'm going to throw that back. So anyways, alright, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to install the downpipe. This is pretty easy. Just going to go just like this. That heat shield may be in the way a little bit. Alright. Whew, finally got that thing in. What a pain. I had to come up from the bottom. Tore up my heat shield. Freaking awesome. So, alright, well now I'm going to try, let's see, I'm going to spin these out of the way so they're not, I don't know if they'd be in the way, but alright, so try to get this turbo in. So, let's see, where can I put the old camera? I think that'll be a pretty good shot. Okay, let me grab it. Hard part's getting the leverage to hold this thing up while you wiggle it in. Let's see, where is that cable? Okay. Make sure all the all the wires are out of the way. Takes a little wiggle. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Now I just gotta line it. Okay, so one thing I always do is I get the oil drain tube aligned, get it sitting on there. Whoops. Get it sitting on there, then we'll line up the mounts, and so it's close right now. Good place to put this thing. Well, you may not be able to watch this part. Alright. Okay. Just like that. Oh, this is why I don't like this. Actually, thinking about it, hold on. How is that going to work? I don't know that that's going to work. gotta get this oil feed line around the other direction. Yep. And you know what? I'm gonna pull it out. Oh, okay. Well, maybe it does fit. Okay. Alright, now it's in. I wasn't sure if this oil drain tube was going to fit or not. It's definitely not as easy to work with as the flexible one. Alright, so now she's in. You can see right here, right there, it's sitting on the mount. It's got that little pin right there. It sits in that little groove, that little 90 angle. So, okay. So I'm gonna go, I still gotta read the directions on what the order is to mount this thing. I think I have to bolt it up to the Y pipe first, then bolt the turbo down, then bolt the manifolds to the Y pipe. So I'm gonna look that up. What else we gotta do? Still gotta plumb in the inlet for the coolant temperature, or coolant filter. So I think I'll take it easy and do some of that right now. So alright, be right back. Okay, so what we need to do is tee in right here somewhere and run it over to our inlet on the coolant filter. So what I'm going to do is actually run the hose here on this side first, figure out how I want to route it around all this junk, and then we'll tee into that and then cut the hose to length, plumb it in, all that good stuff, and then we will move on to the return, which will be, here's the outlet. Remember, that's the inlet we did earlier right there. I'm actually okay with that now. That looks pretty good and clean. And this one will run back around the front. So let's check this out. Be kind of a close-up. See if we can't figure out where to put this. So I was originally thinking through here, but that's, I don't know if that'll work or not. I guess that may. Man, I just don't like that at all. Oh, here we go. This will work. Okay, that's not too bad. Show you in a second. I don't think you can see. Go ahead and cut the hose down a little bit. Okay, that'll work. It's not ideal. I just don't like it pushing up against all these AC hoses. So, kind of snakes in between there, and we're gonna tee in right here. So if you had this kit without the oil cooler, the remote oil cooler that they make, you would still tee in right here, but your return, instead of going into the oil cooler, would either go back across the motor into underneath the coolant bottle, or you could do a clean install, you know, and go around this way, which is what I would do. It's just going to add more coolant to the system too. So alright, cool. Well, that's not too bad. So what I'm going to do is put the camera down where we can see. Okay, so there's our hose. So what I'm going to do is grab some pliers. I want to make sure there's room on this side, on the right side of this. Actually, do that a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so what I'll, oops. So I'll probably tee in something about like that. I think that ought to work. Yeah, I don't see a better way to do this. So, alright, here we go. Oh no, the heater hose. Okay, make sure you put these on. Man, these are almost too small. Gotta back these off just about all the way. They still don't fit. Oh, there we go. I don't know, maybe I was supposed to replace this whole hose. Who knows? Okay. Make sure that doesn't touch metal. Alright. Well, this is still the plastic tee. One of these days I'm going to get around to replacing this thing. Oh, darn it. You know what I forgot? Forgot the clamp. Okay, so That T's not too bad. It's not my favorite, but alright, so I gotta pull this thing back out. And that thing makes me nervous. Hey, oh, no. Alright. Yeah, see, these are too small. Yeah, a few things I would definitely change about this kit. Oh, shit. This is going to be fun to get back on. Alright. Oh, crash and burn. Alright, just snugging these up. And once you start the truck up, this is going to be one thing you want to check. Make sure there's no leaks. Okay, gotta snug this one up. All right. So, next would be this coolant line here. So again, just kind of a quick overview. You can see the whole how the hoses are run, tapped in there. And this, if you do screw this up for some reason or are nervous about doing this, the hose stops right here at this little block off one way, whatever this valve is for your heater. So if you do break it or mess it up, you can always replace that. You know, that's probably $1.50 worth of hose. So, all right. Okay, let me put the camera down here. I'm going to try to fish this. Yeah, that's about where I'm going to try to fish it from. Okay, I'll show this in a minute how all this hooks up, but let's see. I'm going to make sure I got enough room on the other side. Alright, so yeah, definitely got plenty of room. You will need about another 10 feet or so of hose. Actually, you know what? Shoot. There's not enough room to do it that way. Okay, so here's what we got. Yeah, nothing's changed on this side. Oh, I did flip this around, the little hose clamp, because I'm very limited on space here. Anyways, here's how this hose in the front is ran if you were interested. So there's just a soft little, I don't know what that is, kind of like a gasket or hole space filler. So if you peer under here, it just pops through, and I went up on top of the bracket all the way across, made sure I'm not hitting anything or running into anything that would cause any problems. And the same on this other side, it comes across. However, this one kind of goes, where does it go? It goes down, and then this hole right here, let's see if we can see it over here. I can't tell if you can see that or not. Anyway, that's the hole where you're, right here is where the air filter pokes through, and then kind of beside that is where I poked my hose through, and it's just dangling right now. I've still gotta connect this side. So yeah, man, this kit is definitely you gotta be a hardcore DIY dude to do this, and so far I haven't found it to be all inclusive. I'm missing parts, and so, but you know, hopefully it'll work good. So anyways, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to hook up the fuel lines so I don't lose those O-rings. And what else am I going to do? I'm going to go get I'm going to pull the rest of this hose through, and then I'll connect it towards the very end after I mount the bottle and everything back. So what else? Yeah, the air filter and all that will go in very, very last. One thing you have to do, or well, I have to do with the new turbo, is fill the top where the oil inlet is, put some motor oil in there, and I don't have any, and I gotta put motor oil in the engine too. So I'll definitely be making a trip to the store to pick some of that stuff up tonight, but probably not gonna get it running tonight. Probably be tomorrow, unless I run into some more snags, which I anticipate that happening. So alright, well, that's it for right now. So I'll come back. I guess I'll show how to hook up all the turbo hoses, and I think they're called like cac tubes or something. I still got to hook up the oil lines to the IPR filter head up there and everything, so still got a little bit of stuff to do. So, but I'll be back in a bit. Okay, we're back. One thing I do have to do is extend the oil temperature sensor connector all the way over to the remote oil cooler. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So what I'm going to do is Just cut this to where I have enough to play with it on both sides. And so basically that'll just be right in the middle. Let's see, is that enough? It should be plenty. Okay.
The Good Life official moving on some new stuff in October. Transit with Venus is right here on 98.9 The Rock, Kansas City's rock station. I am Nivens. On the way, some hailstorms, some Seethers, requested Zombie and Shinedown. Jackal, of course, can be part of Johnny There's birthday bash at Throttle Fest on Saturday the 25th. Berkeley Riverfront Park, downtown KC Moat. Tickets, info, everything you need at 98.9TheRock.com.
Okay, got those soldered up with some heat shrink. So this stuff's pretty cool, just slides right over the join there. And I'm actually going to need to mark which is which. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and strip one of these sides the other end, and I am going to strip the green one, which is that one that's covered up. So okay, put the other one on. I'm going to put a piece of heat shrink over both of them. I don't know how far up I can get it, but just to keep them together so that they're not all flailing everywhere. Oh, you know what? I need to let that cool. That'll work. we actually get that on video? Sweet. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. But I'm not going to video that, so I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, let's do a quick update here. Got a little bit of progress. Main thing I did was I got the Y pipe bolted to the turbo, and man, I'll tell you, a lifesaver on that. And I think it's how you're supposed to do it anyways, but the bolts that are down from the Y pipe to the manifolds, I left those real loose. I just put the nuts on, like I said in a previous video, like, you know, 3 or 4 turns just so they wouldn't fall off. And then I was able to wiggle the Y pipe around, and I did a lot of checking to make sure that I had it in there right straight. And so I put my hand on that, pushed it in, and then with my left hand from this side, from the driver's side of the car, just kind of wiggled that clamp onto it. And then again with my left hand stretched way over across there, I used my little air ratchet and tightened her up. So, and the whole time I was making sure that I had it pressed all the way up against that. So that's where my exhaust leak was last time when I did the head stud. So hopefully we'll be good to go now. So and then I bolted up the manifold bolts down there, and that's the same as just taking them loose. One of them is just kind of a pain to get to on this side. Actually, it's right. Is that it? That may be it right there. Yep, there it is. That's the bolt. That's the one that's kind of hard to get to. You can't see it from under the truck. You just kind of have to feel for it. And what I found was easiest to do is use one of these. Let's see, where are they? Yeah, here it is, right here. I got 2 of them on it right now, but just use that little wobbly extension. And then it's mine's a 13 millimeter. These aren't the stock bolts. I picked these up from Lowe's, and they are called a flange bolt. And it's basically a nut that looks kind of like this. You know, it's got a little flange on it. So I just got all brand new bolts and nuts, and I put some, where is it? I put some anti-seize. Here it is. I got this stuff at O'Reilly's or something like that, but you know, whenever I was taking them off just now, and they haven't been on there but for maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, something like that. Back in December is when I did this, I think. Man, there was one that was stuck, and I thought I was gonna have to cut that off. And let me tell you, there's no way to get a saw in there. So, got lucky that penetrating oil got it right off. So, so I believe I showed, and I'll show it again today since there's some daylight now. How this is all connected again. This is your supply, or where the coolant will come from the motor. And this is where your little heater valve, shutoff valve is. So if you're not running the heater, it shuts that so you don't run coolant through the heater core. So we tee in here, come to the in, it says right there, on the coolant filter. And then the out goes over here, which is where our remote oil cooler is mounted. So I think this will work how I have it. Again, it was kind of dark, but basically I took a piece of that 5/8 hose and wrapped it around this AC line. That way it wouldn't cut it. If it does start wearing into it, I'll know looking at that, and I can always replace that a whole lot easier than I can replace that other hose. That sure would be a pain to have to crawl all the way down there and do that. So these bolts are 13 millimeter on the bottom, so he says to mount this thing, keep it loose till you get all the hoses and everything connected. And then it's pretty tough to get behind it. I had to come in from this way, and like if the alternator and stuff was here, it may be a little tight, but. And then again, my hose for the outlet on the oil cooler goes in underneath here, right where the AC lines go in, and then it rides just right in here on top of the condenser brackets. And comes over this way, and then it pokes out right down in there, and then it's gonna just kind of follow along underneath where the air filter will go, and then this is where it'll tee in right in here. So but I didn't have enough hose clamps from IPR to get this all complete, so I was missing 2, and I'm thinking that may have been something to do with the fact that I bought the coolant filter and this remote oil cooler kit all at the same time. Maybe that's what it was. There was just a miscount. So short by 2. So I forgot to get those today at the auto parts store. So I'll have to go back. What else? So, oh yeah, this is what I was going to do right now. I'm going to video this. So this is with a new turbo. This wouldn't be if you're just putting your stock one or whatever you already have back in. But anytime you put a new turbo in it, they come with little instructions. And I figured something like this would happen. And that's why I wanted to make sure I read them. Basically, they don't come with a lot of oil in them, I guess. They probably have some assembly oil, and they do, because when the bag is kind of wet inside. But basically what they say to do is leave the inlet side, your tubes, or your, whatever that would be, your inlet hose coming from your air filter off. And what you want to do is pour a little bit of oil in there and then spin the wheel so that it gets those bearings or bushings, whatever's in this one, all nice and coated up with oil. That way when you first crank it up, it's not spinning, you know, for a few seconds with no oil, because that'll wear it out real quick too. So the other thing that I did, and I'll do that here in a second, the other thing I'm going to do is, this is your, remember we rebuilt or put the new blue spring kit in here for the fuel pressure regulator? Well, that's where your top, or your second fuel filter is. So I already replaced it, and I'm going to show you a trick that I figured out on my own one day. Is when you go to start this thing, I take this cap off. If I've done anything with the fuel system, I leave the cap off, and then when I hit the key, I don't even have to start it. I just hit the key, turn it to on where it's, you know, heating up your glow plugs and stuff, and what it'll do is kick on the fuel pump, and it'll pump fuel, and once you see it start to fill up or spill over, that's when you cut the key off, screw that back on. Otherwise, you've got air in the system, and it takes forever for that to come out. So anyways, that's where we're at. My battery's about to die, so I'm going to go charge it, and then I'll oil up this turbo for you guys. Alright.